So I finally watched Call Me By Your Name. I wanted to watch something gay, and this film was praised. Now I've been putting it off for years because it's about a 17-year-old who falls in love with a 24-year-old, and I think that's gross because at 17 you're still a child. But I gave it a chance because it is an Oscar winner film. And y'all, what the are we praising? The movie is an adaptation of a book written by a straight man, which is straight away problem number one. But then the film, adapted to the screen by a gay writer and a gay director, stars two straight actors doing gay for play to win awards. It's an Oscar bait movie. And before you crucify me in the comments down below, my problem isn't that there's two straight actors playing two gay characters. It's how much praise they're getting specifically for being straight actors playing gay characters, for daring to make out on screen when they're not attracted to each other in real life.
But it really is, and because I know Army, but I didn't know you, and you're heterosexual, and I was like, the commitment and the beautiful way you told this story, and especially knowing that you're young and you're straight and you did this, it made me love you even more.
For some reason, it's still groundbreaking and awards-worthy when straight actors go gay for pay, as if they're compromising who they are as individuals, like really putting on the line their integrity as human beings. I just want to know where all the Oscars are for all the gays cosplaying as straight people in their lives. Ah, that's right. It's only brave when straights do gay shit. Because when it's the other way around, it's God's intended way. It's the curing of homosexuality through the good word of the good Lord, Jesus Christ. Me personally, I think that reducing actors to their sexual orientation is very limiting, especially because for many, sexual orientation is an ever-changing aspect of their lives, and nuanced attraction to different genders is becoming more prevalent. So like, you have less and less of fully straight and fully gay people, and you have more and more of this subject to change attraction to who you're attracted to. What irks me the most is how blatantly the movie was promoted as two straight actors going gay for pay. How they playfully flirted in interviews, all of the innuendos, and then audiences just clamoring after these two straight individuals who are going to play these star-crossed lovers on screen. Almost like everyone was just really looking forward to seeing Timmy and Army make out on screen. So risque.
Who wouldn't fall in love with this guy right here, right? Yeah.
And you had one rehearsal, and the rehearsal was?
Hilarious. And all it says is, Elio and Oliver roll around in the grass making out. And we kind of look at each other and we're like, all right.
All right, here we go.
That's why we're here. Let's do this. Start making out. And he goes, no, stop. I want you two to make out like you want to make out with each other, like passionately. And we were like, good direction. So then we start making out, and then we're making out, and then we're making out, and then we're making out, and Luca had just walked away and just left us like there, rolling around in the grass. Yeah.
I heard that you had a little bit of problem because of razor burn. That was your biggest.
That's true, yes. Army didn't have to deal with it because I am on the cusp of manhood. I don't really have to shave ever, so that's all right. But there's a significant beard going on there. My grandma has yet to see it. I think she's going to be in shock when she does. But
don't tell her anything about it. Just make her watch it.
Who wouldn't fall in love with this guy right here? And we fall in love, and there's a...
Am I right?
There's a...
I can't wait to see it, and I hope everyone does. Were you kind of living the performances and the roles?
You go.
Well, no, a couple of exceptions, though. A couple of you like living the roles. No, not everything. Not everything. Okay. It took a couple seconds there to make sense, but that's all right.
Enough about the gay for pay. Let's get into the actual film. It looks beautiful. Like a distant yet ever so present summer you had as a child and remember fondly every so often. The cinematography looks gorgeous, the music sounds beautiful. It all fits into this vintage summer like a nostalgic memory or an idyllic fantasy. And then there's the story, which is not beautiful. It's a coming-of-age story that follows Elio, a 17-year-old child who falls in love with the effervescent and carefree American Oliver, the 24-year-old grown man who spends 6 weeks in Italy with Elio's family to help his dad with academic work. I finished watching the film, and I just wanted to come on here and rant. First up, there's no doubt of what this story is trying to be. It's trying to be a gay love story. And if there were any doubts as to the intention of the film...
It's a love story. And over the course of this beautiful summer, you just get to watch two human beings fall in love with each other.
And yet, it feels like it was made for a straight audience. Like, it's made for the straight gaze, if that is even a thing. First off, everyone is straight acting. There's little to no connection between any of these characters and gay culture, whether it's the way they act, the way they speak, what they talk about, or even historical context. It's only gay because these two will eventually sleep together, which some may say was intentional, and I can see that, you know, the film is set in 1983, hardly a good time for gay people to exist openly, although when is it really, you know? But remember, the author is a heterosexual man. And according to him, this story started off as a writing exercise with Oliver originally intended to be a woman, and he eventually changed the character to be a man for no apparent reason. There's no reason other than he could, and he did. And that kind of explains my second grievance with the film: the way that it portrays queerness on screen. There are some intimate scenes of sexual nature, but most of the expressions of sexuality on screen happen between Elio and a girl, or Elio and a peach. And when Elio and Oliver finally give in to their mutual attraction, we're limited to seeing them kiss a couple times and hug feverishly. And then they start doing the act off screen. And it's disappointing because before we ever see Elio and Oliver get involved, we see Elio lose his virginity on screen with a woman. Not to say that losing your virginity to a woman is wrong. I'm saying that if you're going to portray straight on screen, why not portray gay? But maybe it's a good thing they didn't, because Elio is 17. But then they did with the girl. So, like, you know what I mean? We eventually get two openly gay characters, a couple of older gents, friends of the family, visit, and listen, they are very clearly gay. They are a bit more flamboyant than Oliver or Elio, though none of those two has ever been declared being gay. I'm pretty sure they're bisexual or heteroflexible, because that's what they call themselves nowadays, isn't it? But the arrival of these two openly gay characters, the first ones in this gay movie, is immediately ruined when Elio's father chastises his son for calling them Sonny and Cher behind their back, which is very clearly insult that Elio states was started by his own mother. First, this feels very out of character for his mom, who is actually seemingly very progressive and in tune with like these tragic romantic love stories and passion, who very obviously realizes that her son is smitten by this older man and kind of encourages them to hang out more often. So for this casual homophobia to come out of left field just felt like an undeserved smear on her character. And the reason it bothers me so much is because it's like such a subtle yet affirming way of establishing gay men as only desirable when they are straight acting, when they're assimilated, when they're not fruity. They do gay shit, but in the comfort of their own homes. You know, they're not shoving it down your throat. And to me, assimilation is straight people culture. You know, imitate, assimilate, procreate. But it also plays into this fantasy of the straight guy who will go gay just for you because you have that special pussy that will turn a straight man gay. Can't believe I just said pussy. It's like the forbidden fruit, you know, the man that you can turn, but only you and the power of your groin. Now it's groin. And some more fervorous fans may argue that, you know, this is the 80s and people wanted to avoid getting stoned to death in homophobic attacks. It's realistic that people would be more inclined to be straight acting, and I concur. Even though this family is very progressive, even by today's Western standards, so like that argument kind of falls apart very quickly. But let's keep it up. Let's pretend that the film is going for realism and historical accuracy. That still doesn't excuse my next and last big grievance with this film. The elephant in the room everyone involved in making this film refuses to address. The age thing. It's that darn age discrepancy that woke leftists won't shut up about, is what a right-wing pastor would probably say to justify his deep attraction for 12-year-olds. Elio is 7 years younger than Oliver. And that age discrepancy in and of itself isn't the problem, right? Because if a 30-year-old started dating a 37-year-old, no one would care. Depending on the circumstances, an age gap is just a gap. An age really is just a number. Though that expression is better applied when talking about how it's never too late to follow your dreams. Not that you should follow that twink.
I am on the cusp of manhood. I don't really have to shave ever.
The bigger problem here is that Oliver is 24 and Elio is 17. He is a teenager, but like he looks like a teenager and he acts like a teenager and he talks like a teenager who's read one too many books about old history and shit. I didn't remember how young Timothée Chalamet actually looked in this film because in real life we're the same age. So, you know, when this film came out, I was already in my 20s. But after watching it 8 years later, he looks like an actual underage teenager. Like terribly immature to be dating a 24-year-old who looks like he's in his mid-30s. Like, you could not have paid me enough when I was 24 to date that. He looks like a child. Now, one of the most common defenses that I've heard and read for this age discrepancy is that people are being prudes. The age of consent varies, and in Italy, it's 14, not 18 like in the United States. And that sounds creepy. Also, I'm Portuguese. The age of consent in Portugal is also 14, and it's also disgusting. We need to stop acting like if something is lawful and legal, it's automatically okay and correct. Child marriage is still very much legal in some places. Are we suddenly okay with 10-year-olds getting married to 50-year-olds? The idea that because it's legal, it's fine and people are just being prudes is actually wild. But also, we're not being prudes. That is exactly the excuse that middle-aged, recently divorced fathers use when they start dating a woman that's like as young as their daughter. But it's okay because she's 18 and a half, in which case there is a term for it. Ephebophilia, the attraction for mid to late adolescents, or as Bonnie Blue calls them,
very legal.
I know, this would not be more acceptable if Elliot was 18. Because here's the thing, not only is he a teenager and he looks like a teenager, but Oliver, who's meant to be 24, looks significantly older than 24. I don't know what juices Americans are drinking that they think that this is an acceptable 24-year-old. I've seen 21-year-olds that look like they're in their 30s online. I don't know what's happening. But he does not look 24. No. No. 30-year-old Timothée Chalamet looks younger than Armie Hammer playing this 24-year-old. Also, Elio's like visibly hairless torso against Oliver's hairy and much more mature frame makes this look like an uncle and a nephew are hanging out, not star-crossed lovers. It's distracting. It's very distracting. But also, the movie goes out of its way to show us how young Elio really is. Like when he shaves off his mustache, the wispy hairs on his upper lip. But there's also a seeming imbalance of emotional intelligence. Elio is framed as this intelligent young man who knows a little bit about everything. But at a certain point, he tells Oliver that he knows very little about the things that matter, alluding to sexuality and romance and love. Because he's inexperienced. He starts the film as a virgin and then eventually ends up losing it to a girl. And when he does, he finishes in seconds and his reaction is very much of this like excited child discovering the pleasures of carnal intimacy with another human being. Even the way that he tells his father before he loses his virginity that he almost had sex with her, the way he's telling this like an excited little puppy, it definitely comes off as a very young teenager. And his age, I think, is further shown by his initial behavior towards Oliver. You know when little kids like someone and they're just mean for no reason? It's like you pull someone's hair, so you obviously like them. He acts very hostile and cold towards Oliver from the get-go, almost like he's trying to distance himself or protect himself from this deep burning desire that he feels for Oliver physically. And that in and of itself also feels kind of immature. But then there's the infamous peach scene, which is meant to be this representation of his sexual awakening. And it is. Elio molests the peach, finishes on it. Then Oliver finds him asleep, immediately starts fellatio before licking what was left on the peach when Elio finished on it. And Elio's horrified, begs him not to do it, visibly uncomfortable, embarrassed by his actions because he feels like he was caught doing this naughty thing. You know, it's this kid who was caught by his parents and now is like really embarrassed and horrified until he collapses in tears into Oliver's predatory embrace. It's meant to be this pivotal moment in Elio's emotional journey, right? He's sharing this vulnerability because he's a teenager who feels embarrassed he did that with the peach. And when Oliver's laughing at it, he's laughing because he recognizes that this is just teenager behavior, you know? Who hasn't done something with an object at home when they were kids and just figuring out what feels nice where? He recognizes it's teenage behavior and he laughs because he thinks it's cute. So why the f*** are we making out with him? Oliver, anything to add? Do you want to explain yourself? Creep. Also, I don't know why people are so horrified by the peach scene. Like, I understand that they were uncomfortable, but like, what was it about it? Was it how he reached under his trousers holding the peach? Was it how the peach was squirting juice all over his chest? Was it that you could kind of see a hint of what was meant to be on the peach after he finished? Was it the fellatio that Oliver started straight away while he was still half asleep? Or was it the fact that Oliver licked it? In the book, he eats the entire peach, he swallows, and I'm sure that a lot of you judgy out there have swallowed before. So I'm genuinely asking, like, why was it so controversial at the time? I understand why the scene was there. I just don't understand why it's being romanticized. To me, it's a motif, it's a sexual motif of Elio experimenting, trying new things, getting out of his comfort zone. And then comes Jimmy Savile to eat the peach. Speaking of creepy then there's Oliver. Not only is Oliver 24, he looks 35, and he's clearly more experienced, at least sexually. And he's fully aware of how creepy this relationship is. For instance, the first time that Oliver showed interest in Elio was when Oliver squeezed his shoulder when they were playing volleyball shirtless. And then Oliver, recounting that story to Elio, says, "The way that you reacted made me feel like I had molested you." He just said it. Like, he just said it out loud. Wow, I was not expecting that. Nothing's done about it. Like, they just, like, resume business as usual, but I'm surprised they fucking said it. Or the day after they slept together, where Oliver tells Elio that he doesn't want to mess him up, but he is glad that they slept together. So you know that it could mess him up, like, mentally, because he's a precocious teenager, right? He's 17, he says that, but look at him, right? Tell me he's 14, I'll believe you.
I am on the cusp of manhood. I don't really have to shave ever.
Either way, Oliver knows. He understands the power balance at play. He knows he's attractive, and he knows that Elio is lusting after him. And it's not his fault. Elio is an impressionable, horny teenager lusting after an older man. Who here has never lusted after an older person when they were younger, right? But Oliver is the adult in the room. He's the object of affection that should know better to then do better. If I was 24 and I had a 17-year-old lusting after me like this, I would disappear so quickly out of his life. I would ghost everyone. Like, there is no way that I'm gonna stick around to feed this lust, to maybe somehow accidentally, indirectly incentivizing this attraction. But not Oliver. Oliver slowly but surely lets it happen, wants it to happen. He wants to taste this young man's. Sorry, that was too much. And even the movie recognizes that it's wrong, right? When Oliver says that to Elio twice, like, the movie's telling us this is wrong, but it's showing it as if it was right. This is bad, but we're gonna frame it as like a first love that you've never fully lived freely, instead of Elio's journey here is completely understandable. There is nothing wrong with being sexually active at 17. And there's nothing wrong with acting on those impulses and those attractions. It's just a shame that it happens with a grown man, and for the sake of art and beautiful cinematography, we're willing to overlook its deeply problematic premise. It's the romanticization of this relationship that irks me, not the fact that it happened. Because unfortunately, this happens all the time. Older men taking advantage of naive, more inexperienced partners. Yet every adult in this story seems so very nonchalantly okay with it, even when they know what's fully transpired between the two. Like, for example, Elio's father. A very open-minded progressive man, perhaps even queer-coded. He even acts a little fruity, if we're being honest. He also kind of looks gay and comes off as gay, at least to me. Anyway, he's not dumb, and he very quickly realizes what is happening between Elio and Oliver, but instead of stopping it, he encourages it. And when Elio and Oliver finally part ways towards the end of the film, his father comforts him. So well-intentioned, yet so creepy. He says that what they had was a very special thing, that most people deprive themselves of living these adventures in their lives, and that destroys them emotionally when they're older and realize all they've not done. He praises what they have as something he himself has only ever been close to having, but has never quite reached because there was always an obstacle in the way. It's not clear whether his father is, like, coming out to his son in a way, or if he's just, sad that he's never allowed himself to live love this fully. So unabashedly in love and silly and transgressive, I guess, because according to the author, he loves to explore taboos, but we'll get to that in a second. He's envious of his son for giving in to these desires so freely and that everyone should do it. And the speech, unsurprisingly, resonated a lot with audiences. It resonated with me. The intention is good, to signify the importance of those earlier love experiences because they help us grow and mature and gain a deeper understanding of who we are. And he tells Elio not to avoid these negative feelings, the heartbreak, the sadness, because they're part of life and it's so important to really live through them. It really helps shape you as a person, as a mature individual. And I agree with that, or I would if this wasn't a 17-year-old and a 24-year-old. This wasn't a love story. This was lust. That's it. This is lust. So like A+ for the sentiment, but F for failing to address the elephant in the room, the age thing. Then, months after his departure, Oliver calls them to casually announce his engagement to his girlfriend, with whom he shared an on and off relationship with for the past 3 years. So like he lived with this family for 6 weeks. He their teenage child. And now Elliot has to live through the heartbreak and be grateful for those experiences because they really help shape who he is. And Elio is heartbroken, of course, and the audience is almost tricked into mourning the end of this relationship with the potential that it had. I say tricked into mourning because I was happy. Elliot was crying, but I was living. This is not something to aspire to have. This is not the type of relationship we should be striving for because, again, it's the age thing. The whole basis for this story is that Oliver is hot, and Elio is a horny teenager who finds him hot, and Oliver is a creepy grown man who wants teenage boys in his bed. For Elio, sure, this might be the summer that he lived his first love and he got heartbreak out of it. But for his parents, this is the summer that their son got, and they applauded it. They hailed it as a truly woohoo celebratory rite of passage into adulthood. Yeah, when I was younger, I was borderline by a man, but my parents were super okay with it. Yeah, they're very progressive. Like too progressive, one even could say, but yeah, no, they were super cool with it. So why is the film romanticizing this dynamic, right? As if it's a forbidden first love that you fondly remember.
It's a love story, and over the course of this beautiful summer, you just get to watch two human beings fall in love with each other.
I found an interview of the author of the book, Andre Aciman, where he talks about this book and another one that was also adapted into the small screen. The question was, related to that, there's a story in Enigma Variations, this other book he wrote, about a 12-year-old boy discovering his sexuality through his desire for an older boy. Of course, nothing happens between them, but aren't you worried that it could be misinterpreted? And his answer, which was translated from Spanish because this interview was originally in Spanish, no, I don't mind. The other day I was talking to a friend and I said, I see 12-year-old girls and I already find them attractive. And he said, me too, but you can't talk about it. And I replied, no, never. Because if you talk about it, you're almost guilty of it. I don't commit the act, but you have no idea the lurid, disgusting thoughts that cross our minds. Okay, so it crosses your mind that the 12-year-old is attractive, so you're a nonce. Sure. So you made your character an ephibophiliac, so it wasn't as bad. What is the working logic that we're working here with, huh? What is this running theme that he makes children lust after adults and then sometimes the adult gives in? Ooh, transgressive. Oscar winner movie even. Like, how casual can you be as a borderline senior citizen to openly talk about how you find 12-year-olds attractive? But also, why does it not surprise me? The whole story and all the people defending this film basically give the vibes of, we were all thinking it, but they did it. Like we all did this. We were all 17 once wanting to someone older. Sure, yeah, I'm with you there. I was Elio, I was Elio. What we're not talking about is that no one should be Oliver. Like, why are we ignoring that? Like, this is not a good love story. It's not. It's an abusive love story. But if you call it abusive love story, people start calling you a snowflake or a woke leftist, a blue-haired liberal, whatever the latest insult is. It also makes it sound like Andre feels like being attracted to 12-year-olds is very natural and people are just not talking about it because it's bad. Like, yes, first of all, it's bad. And yes, we should not be talking about it. And if you indeed feel that way, seek help. Like, seek a therapist. Don't act on it. I'm glad you're not acting on it. If you're telling the truth, I'm sure you are. But like, seek help. Go to a therapist. Don't put it in book form. And it's this straight man's book that y'all are praising. Again, the movie looks beautiful and it sounds beautiful. It's so well made. But it would have been so easy to make some changes to make the story less creepy. Oh, but I hear some of you say the story only exists because of this context, because he is so young and Oliver is so much older. Then don't do it. That's why it's creepy. You're doing what the author said you were gonna do. Oh, but everyone does it. Oh, but everyone wants it. Oh, but it only works because it's that way. Well, then don't make it work. Don't do it. It shouldn't work. There's that. It shouldn't work. It does work because it's creepy, but the end result should not be, oh, it's so sad that they didn't stay together. The end result should be that man is in prison, beat up for molesting my kid, throwing hands straight away. But no, they're cute together. They're like two little Barbie dolls that you have at home, and you make them kiss. Like, that's what people are doing over this film. They're like, oh, Army, Timothy, oh, kiss me. Sick. Mind you, I was only mildly aggravated by this film. I was meant to do a video about like gay films made for straight audiences because there's a few like Love, Simon, made for straight people. But this film just aggravated me slightly more than the usual. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a dedicated video. It felt unfair to lump Love, Simon with Call Me By Your Name. Because Love, Simon is like, oh, it's dumb and silly, but it's cute. And then Call Me By Your Name is like, oh, it's borderline, it's abusive, it's ephebophilia, whatever the term is. It sounds so weird. Yeah! Also, this whole we should explore these taboo things. Why should we? It's the same defense that I hear for Euphoria fans who are like, oh, of course they're having teenagers do that. It's realistic. Why do we have to see it on screen? Why are a bunch of adults interested in seeing how much teenagers have and what they do? First of all, the series is not safe for people under a certain age, right? So you're not really educating anyone or teaching kids how to have safe sex because they can't watch the series. Like, the people that can watch it have already gone through that stage. The people that can watch Euphoria have been there, done all of that. So why do we have to see them have so much sex? Oh, but the actors are of age. The characters aren't. It's the fantasy. It's a fantasy, guys. If we start normalizing playing out every fantasy on screen, even though the actors are of age, then we're no better than the people that made Cooties. Is that the name? Cuties. Cuties on Netflix. We're no better than those people. It's the intention of the film that bothers, you know? Like, if the film intended to portray how these relationships affect someone's emotional intelligence in the long run, then yeah, sure, but go for it. But the film wants you to root for them because this is a love story to them.
It's a love story.
But if you don't believe me, there's literally a sequel book where years later they meet up and they somehow end up together. So this was set up to be a forever love, not a first love that should have never happened in the first place. Which is a shame because the film is technically impressive and the performances are great. Well, Timmy is. Our Army is just there. He's not that great, to be fair. But I couldn't focus on the beauty in front of me because all I could think of was he looks like a child. And that man looks like his creepy uncle. Replace Elio's character with a 17-year-old girl who looks 15 and acts 14, and you have a problematic film. Though I say that, and there are still people out there who think Lolita was a love story. Even illustrious, globally renowned authors, JK. And would replacing Oliver with a 24-year-old woman who looks like she's in her 30s make this a special experience? Probably yes, because in some disturbing way, there's this running patriarchal narrative that when it happens to young boys, it don't even matter. It's not that serious. In fact, if anything, the boys are studs for getting older women, and now, I guess, older men. But it's fine because the aesthetic of the film is cute and it's European, and we all know anything goes in Europe, right? That was a joke. And so is this film. A big, fat joke. I don't get it. But hey, maybe it's not for me to get. Maybe it's for the straights and other gays. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is not that serious, so please don't go angrily insulting me or anyone else in the comments. Just keep it civil and relaxed. It's just a movie. We're never gonna get a sequel because Armie Hammer is nuts. I think he gave an interview recently that was just very tragic. I might do a video on it because the whole Armie Hammer downfall should really be studied. Actually, let me know down below if you want me to do like a deep dive into Armie Hammer's rise and fall, because there's certain people that we can talk about freely, and he's definitely one of them. And until then, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. And don't go lusting after 17-year-olds if you're 24. Be appropriate. Bye, guys.